Let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking some seriously fascinating insights from sociologist Anthony Giddens, all about modern relationships. You know, if you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by the pressures of dating, or maybe you've just wondered why some friendships give you life while others completely drain you, well, you're in the right place. We're leaning on a really insightful source discussion today that completely flips the script on how we view human connection. We're moving away from that traditional romance-only focus and looking at a much more empowering idea: shared intimacy.
And we're starting off strong with this quote, basically taking the standard dating advice and turning it upside down. Our source material argues that true connection, it begins entirely with you. So often society feeds us this idea that the ultimate goal is finding your other half to, complete you. But the sociological perspective we're exploring pushes back on that big time. It insists that before you can successfully love anyone else, you have got to be fully invested in loving and developing yourself. If you aren't grounded in who you are, any relationship you build is just going to be incredibly fragile.
So, to make this theory actually actionable for us, we'll be walking through 5 pillars of intimacy. First up, infatuation versus intimacy. Then, step 1, prioritize self-development. Next is choice and balance, followed by honesty and trust, and finally, mutual growth and friendship. Let's get into it.
Starting with Section 1, infatuation versus intimacy, and understanding the core difference between the two. Let's see how this sets the foundation for everything else.
Giddens draws a really stark contrast here between the trap of blind infatuation and the grounded reality of true intimacy. In a passionate or infatuated relationship, the kind that makes for great movies but messy lives, people tend to just completely lose themselves. Boundaries dissolve, and the whole thing becomes all-consuming. And ironically, that actually prevents genuine connection because the self essentially disappears. But look at the flip side. A genuinely intimate relationship operates totally differently. It is deeply rooted in ongoing self-development, mutual respect, and absolute equality. You're not losing yourself, you're bringing your fully realized self to the table to meet someone else's fully realized self.
That brings us to Section 2. Step 1, prioritize self-development, which is all about securing your own foundation. The crucial takeaway here is that before you can bond with someone in that healthy, equal way, prioritizing your own development is an absolute must. Our source highlights a fantastic real-life example of what this actually looks like. Imagine you're in the middle of a live stream or just doing a really important personal task, and suddenly you get a barrage of phone calls and notifications. It is so tempting to just drop everything and cater to the other person, right? We completely lose our focus. But these steps show the healthy way to handle it. You acknowledge the interruption, sure, but then you politely decline or delay the engagement so you can get back to your personal balance. And listen, doing this is not selfish. It's actually a perfect demonstration of self-development. You are respectfully protecting your boundaries, which is literally the prerequisite for any healthy relationship.
Moving on to Section 3, choice and balance, or maintaining equilibrium in your connections. Because once you've set your own boundaries, you have to figure out how to balance them with the people around you.
This is such a brilliant concept. If a relationship's balance tips and starts feeling like a burden, true intimacy means you can comfortably just say, "Hey, I'm busy, let me get back to my center." This is what Giddens calls freedom of choice. Think of it like an unspoken agreement on the scale of a relationship. If a friend suddenly makes a demand on your time, you have the absolute freedom to say no without an ounce of guilt, and they have the freedom to accept that without getting angry. You're basically giving each other the breathing room required to stay balanced as individuals.
And that leads right into this idea of reciprocity and shared leadership. Let's say a friend tries to take the lead by abruptly calling you out of the blue. You can actually negotiate taking a lead later when your time actually permits. You see, in an infatuated or toxic dynamic, one person is constantly steering the ship and demanding attention. But in an intimate dynamic, the leadership rotates. It is this constant, respectful negotiation where you can say, I can't follow your lead right now, but I will totally step up and lead our connection tomorrow when I have the capacity. It keeps the power dynamic entirely equal.
Okay, Section 4, honesty and trust, which is really the engine of intimacy. Let's talk about how to maintain that delicate balance through pure, unfiltered communication.
Our source shares a super relatable anecdote here about a friend getting upset over a missed travel update. Basically, the friend was promised a notification about a trip, didn't get it, and got intensely angry.
Now, on the surface, someone getting mad might look like the relationship is breaking down, but according to the framework we're exploring, this is actually a fantastic, healthy example of directly expressing emotional needs. Instead of just passive-aggressively withdrawing, the friend was frank and shared their emotional requirement for communication. That level of transparency, it's incredibly valuable.
And it's that transparency that builds what the source calls 4-degree trust. It's this multi-layered trust that covers your explicit needs, your individual life paths, your fidelity, and your personal discipline. When you establish this deep level of trust across those 4 areas, you can comfortably let one partner pursue, say, spiritual cultivation, while the other focuses on personal study, fully knowing you are both disciplined. You don't need to constantly monitor each other because there is an absolute belief in the other person's fidelity. And not just romantically, but in their commitment to their own growth and to the relationship itself. You share your needs, you trust the discipline, and you just let go of the control.
Which brings us to our final pillar, Section 5, Mutual Growth and Friendship. Let's expand the definition of intimacy here, because limiting it just to romance is a massive missed opportunity.
When you're fostering this kind of connection, what's really beautiful is the emphasis on letting the other person naturally grow into their own shape, rather than forcing them to fit yours. It's like you're building these positive feedback loops where both people feel incredibly comfortable and satisfied. You are actively investing in their happiness, but without forcing an agenda. You understand their notions, you meet their needs, and you just cheer them on as they become whoever they are truly meant to be.
The source passionately argues that by applying these exact pillars to all our friends, we can create a highly resilient society based on mutual care instead of relying solely on one partner to fulfill every single need. Think about how much pressure we put on a romantic partner to be our best friend, our confidant, our co-manager of life. It is overwhelming. But if we foster intimacy, true, boundary-respecting, self-developing intimacy, with a network of friends, we essentially build a safety net. We create a whole community where people can genuinely rely on one another, stepping up to support each other based on their shifting availability and capacity.
So I want to leave you with this final thought to really challenge how you approach your everyday interactions moving forward. Look at your own social circle. Are you communicating honestly? Are you allowing your friends the freedom of choice? Are you prioritizing your own self-development so you can actually show up better for them? True connection is this incredible, expanding network, not just a 2-person island. Take these concepts, apply them to your friendships this week, and just watch how the dynamic shifts. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.